back to the 12 days of MLB rankings. Today I have for you third base. In my opinion, I think third base is just about the most stacked position. The top 10 is the best top 10 in all of the positions. Even the top 15 is incredible. They all have something so impressive to offer, and they're just such great players. So when I was making this list and I was going from I always start with the top and I go to the bottom. When I was making the list and we were passing the 12th spot, I was like, oh my god, this is a stacked position. Anyway, so I think today's gonna be a banger and I hope you guys enjoy. So without further ado, let's get started. Getting it started for us at the number 30 spot, we have Ildemaro Vargas from the Washington Nationals. He's 31 and he's played for 8 different teams. He might have bounced back to the same team a couple times, so maybe it's less than that, but still, he just had a pretty disappointing season this year. He's unfortunately in his career never really had all that much of a breakout season. He's always been a bench platoon player. His stats this year are hitting 4 homers with a .252 batting average, 31 RBIs. The one plus side to him is his strikeout percentage is only at a 7. Not much to highlight there. Let's move on. Moving on to the number 29 spot, we have Brett Baty from the New York Mets. Part of me felt bad putting him this low because he's still young. He's literally just still a rookie. He only played in 108 games. His stats, though, weren't all that impressive, but you could argue for just a good start. In 389 plate appearances, he hit 9 homers and had 34 RBIs with a .212 batting average and an OPS plus of 65. So really, just disappointing numbers there. I do fully believe, though, with him only being 23, he will have a breakout season yet to come. He was once one of the higher prospects for the Mets. I see it down the road. But right now, he's just sitting at the number 29 spot. Moving on to the number 28 spot, we have Andrew Monasterio from the Milwaukee Brewers. He's 26, but just had his rookie season. He played in 92 games, but in 315 plate appearances, he had 3 homers and 27 RBIs with a .259 batting average and an OPS plus of 87. So he played in just over half of the season with the Brewers. Numbers are, honestly, they're pretty low. They're below average in my opinion. Not saying he doesn't have talent or a high ceiling. I do think he does, but this year he just didn't have it all put together. Moving on to the number 27 spot, we have Mike Moustakas, who played for both the Rockies and the Angels this season. Mike Moustakas, he's getting older, okay? He is 34, and he definitely struggled this year. Power was not there for him. He only hit 12 homers, and if you look at his stats, his power has definitely decreased a lot, even just since 2019, where he had hit 35 homers. He just isn't that good anymore. He had a .247 batting average and 48 RBIs with an OPS plus at 81. Just not impressive this year all around, kind of disappointing. Moving on to the number 25th spot, we have Nick Senzel from the Cincinnati Reds, who just signed a deal with the Washington Nationals. He did put up numbers to imply a bad season. In 104 games, he hit 13 homers, had 42 RBIs, and only hit a .236 average with an 85 OPS plus. He had an on-base percentage under 300 and a slug percentage under 400. Since his rookie season in 2019, he finally did hit for a bit more power with a career-high 13 homers. So that's a plus right there. Moving on to the number 25th spot, we have Jace Peterson from the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was involved in a trade this season to move him to the D-backs from the Athletics. But again, he's bounced around a lot in his career. Peterson, a very underwhelming season. He had a negative WAR, only 6 homers, a .211 batting average, 37 RBIs, a 75 OPS plus. You could very well make an argument he could be lower on this list, and that's very plausible right there. But he's never been more than just a platoon guy or just being on the bench. So moving on to number 24, we have Zach McKinstry from the Detroit Tigers. McKinstry, a little bit better looking numbers than the prior guys I mentioned. He played in 148 games with the Tigers this year. He had 9 homers, 35 RBIs, and a .231 batting average with an OPS plus at 79. But the one thing that makes him stand out more, unlike the guys I talked about just a sec ago, is he can actually field, okay? He has a great glove over there, and I put him at third base, obviously, for this video, but the second most position he played in 2023 was second base, so he could kind of go anywhere, but he played 50-something games at third for the Tigers, so I felt to include him in this list for them. Moving on to the number 23 spot, we have Michael Garcia from the Kansas City Royals. He is an amazing fielder as well. Amazing range, amazing arm strength, but numbers-wise, he hit 4 homers with a .272 batting average and 50 RBIs he had 23 stolen bases with an OPS plus at 88. And that was all in 123 games. Moving to the 22nd spot, we have Yoan Moncada from the Chicago White Sox. He was one that definitely used to be a decent third baseman. He hit for more power. He even hit for a pretty good average. Back in 2019, he had a .315 batting average. He's just struggled a lot to put up good numbers. Really, that's it. This year, he did only play in 92 games, but in those 92 games, he had 11 homers, 40 RBIs, and a .260 batting average, and an OPS plus at 97. But his strikeout percentage is at a 30. And he might just keep going down on the list as well. The older he gets and the less he provides in the batter's box, the further down on the list he will go. Moving on to the number 21 spot, we have Roman Urias from the Baltimore Orioles. So Urias, again, underwhelming season, but Urias did hit 4 homers this year with a .264 batting average, 42 RBIs, an OPS at 703 with an OPS plus at 98. He's not a bad fielder. He won a Gold Glove last year. He did play in 116 games this year, which he put up all those stats, but strikeout percentages are a little bit high at 25. Moving on to the number 20 spot, we have DJ LeMahieu from the New York Yankees. He was once a guy that hit for a very high average. He's a 2-time batting title winner. DJ LeMahieu has a very exciting past, but honestly, age must be getting to him because he's 34 and he just is putting up, I would say, worse and worse numbers, especially in the batting average range. He was once hitting over 300 for several seasons. This year, he had a .243 batting average while hitting 15 homers and only having 44 RBIs. He's definitely a very successful player, having won a lot in his past, but just this year just didn't impress me that much. Moving on to the number 19 spot, we have Ryan McMahon from the Colorado Rockies. Now, I like this player. I find him to be a very underrated player. In 152 games, he had 23 homers with 70 RBIs and a .240 batting average, a 753 OPS, and an OPS plus at 93. And to top it off, he's a pretty good fielder. He's definitely got a good arm over there at third, a good glove, but he's definitely one of the better players over there on the Rockies team. And for that, I think number 19 isn't a bad spot for him. Moving on to the number 18 spot, we have Eugenio Suarez from the Seattle Mariners, newly acquired Arizona Diamondback. What I like about Suarez is his power and also how he stays on the field. Ever since like a freaking decade ago, he hasn't played under 100 games other than the COVID year. This year, he played in all 162 games. I don't know, that's something that I personally like to see. But in those 162 games, he hit 22 homers, had 96 RBIs, and hit a .232 batting average with an OPS plus of 101. He's really valuable for any team with power and just staying healthy. Moving on to the number 17 spot, we have JD Davis from the San Francisco Giants. JD Davis, again, we're starting to get to those players like I was previously talking about, that they all have something really good to offer a team. JD Davis this season had 18 homers with a .248 batting average, 69 RBIs, and an OPS of 738 and an OPS plus of 103. He played in 144 games. The one thing about Davis, though, is he does strike out quite a bit. He has a 27.8 strikeout percentage. But other than that, he definitely has some good stuff to offer offensively, and that's very valuable. Moving on to number 16, we have Royce Lewis from the Minnesota Twins. In just the small sample size that he provided in 58 games, he's just cracking the top 15 on my list. Just in those 58 games, he hit 15 homers, had 52 RBIs, and a .309 batting average, a .921 OPS, and a freaking OPS plus of 150. Now, I know if he played a full season, those numbers would definitely level out, but I fully believe that they would still be very impressive numbers. And him only being 24, the Minnesota Twins have a really good player on their hands coming up for them. Moving on to the top 15, we have Josh Young from the Texas Rangers. And Josh Young had a really good season, and he's at my number 15 spot. He played in 122 games, and in those games, he had 23 homers, 70 RBIs, and a .266 batting average with an OPS plus of 109. He came in 4th in Rookie of the Year voting and was an All-Star, his first of his career. Strikeout percentage is a bit high at 29, but he's definitely an impressive player, and he's still only at my number 15 spot. Moving on to the number 14 spot, we have Alec Bohm from the Philadelphia Phillies. You may have seen him in my first base ranking video because he played like 80 games there, but he still played 90 games at third, so of course I had to still include him in this list. He honestly ranked higher as a first baseman, but that's because third base, like I've said a lot, is a more stacked position. But still being at 14 means he was still a really good player this year. So in those 145 games, he hit 20 homers with 97 RBIs, which is disgusting, and a 274 batting average with an OPS plus of 108. And strikeout percentage is very low at 15. And he's still an excellent defender over there at third base. He makes some pretty impressive plays over there, and at first, he can field at both. And he hit a career high 20 homers this season, but the RBIs was a nice touch to see him almost hit 100. Moving on to the number 13 spot, we have Max Muncy from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Muncy's played a fair share everywhere for the Dodgers. He's played first, he's played, of course, third, and second. This year, he did prioritize third base, where he played 124 games at third for the Dodgers this year. He played 135 games in total, and in those 135 games, he hit a whopping 36 homers. He only hit a 212 batting average, but Muncy's never hit for a high average. Other than the batting average, he had 105 RBIs, an 808 OPS, and an OPS plus of 115. And he gets on base a lot via walk, with a 14.7 walk percentage. Moving on to the number 12 spot, we have Jake Burger from the Miami Marlins. He split time with the White Sox and the Marlins in 2023. He played a total of 141 games this year, and in those 141 games, he hit 34 homers with a 250 batting average, 80 RBIs, a 518 slug, an 828 OPS with an OPS plus at 120. So top 12 is still very stacked, and that's why, he's top 12. Moving on to the number 11 spot, we have Matt Chapman, who is a free agent right now, but I'm still going to count him as a Blue Jays player just for the time being. Matt Chapman has won 4 Gold Gloves. There's no doubt he's a great defender. That's the type of guy you get in the hot corner. He's a 2-time Platinum Glove Award winner. He played in 140 games with the Blue Jays this year, and in those games, he hit 17 homers, had 54 RBIs, and a 240 batting average. Power was definitely down a lot for him this year, and the batting average just wasn't there at all either. Overall, Matt Chapman, he's still a very valuable player. Moving on to the top 10, we have Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Ke'Bryan Hayes is just an all-around good player. He played in 124 games this year, and in those games, he had a career-high 15 homers, 61 RBIs, and a 271 batting average, and he won his first Gold Glove. He had an OPS at 762 with an OPS plus of 105. But yeah, no shock. Him winning a Gold Glove means he's a good defender. So yeah, Ke'Bryan Hayes is the guy opening up our top 10. Moving on to number 9, we have Jeimer Candelario from the Chicago Cubs. Well, he played for the Nationals and the Cubs both in 2023, and he did already sign a contract with the Reds. Jeimer Candelario had a breakout season. He played in 140 games this year and hit 22 homers, which is a career high, and 70 RBIs, and hit a 251 batting average with an OPS of 807 and an OPS plus of 119. But for the fielding department, he isn't really like the best fielder over there at third, but he can play a little bit of first base too. Like, I know when he got traded to the Cubs, he was to fill in their third base need, but he played definitely a fair share of games at first, majority at third. Moving on to number 8, we have Isaac Paredes, or Paredes, however you pronounce his last name, from the Tampa Bay Rays. But in 143 games for the Rays, he hit 31 homers and had 98 RBIs. He had a 250 batting average, an 840 OPS with an OPS plus of 131. He has only an 18.2 strikeout percentage, and he walks a decent amount. He has a 10 walk percentage. He had a 4.2 WAR with the Rays. Honestly, there's not much more I can say about him. The numbers are there. He's definitely a better power hitter than he is probably for contact. He's a really solid third baseman, had a breakout year, and that's why he's at the number 8 spot. Moving on to number 7, we have Nolan Arenado from the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, you may be thinking, Arenado at number 7? That just goes to show how stacked the top 7 are. Also, for Arenado, he still put up phenomenal numbers. I'll get to that in a second. But in his recent years, you would consider a slower year, or at least he had a very slow start to his season. He played in 144 games this year, but in those games, hit 26 homers, and had 93 RBIs, a 266 batting average, an OPS of 774, and an OPS plus of 109. Other than the COVID year, where there were only 60 games to be played, he has not had under 100 RBIs in his career since 2014. So yeah, I'll just keep giving you examples, but this is just more of a slow year, and that's why he was just bumped down a couple spots. Of course, he did not shy at the hot corner and fielding-wise. Yes, he did not win the Gold Glove this year at the hot corner, which was the first time in his career he has not, because he's a 10-time Gold Glover, a 5-time Silver Slugger, and a 6-time Platinum Gold Glove winner. So Nolan Arenado is just cracking our top 7, which are some of the best players in baseball. Coming in at the number 6 spot, we have Manny Machado from the San Diego Padres. Just like Nolan Arenado, he didn't put up as great of numbers as he did prior. The power was still there, where he hit 30 homers in 138 games and had 91 RBIs. That part was pretty good. He didn't hit for as high contact either, because he only had a 258 batting average, where last year he just about had a 300 average. But nonetheless, he still provided a lot for the team, having, of course, the 91 RBIs. Moving on to the top 5, getting it started for us, we have Rafael Devers from the Boston Red Sox. Now, Rafael Devers had a really phenomenal season. He played in 153 games, had 33 homers with 100 RBIs and a 271 batting average, slugging percentage at 500, an OPS at 851, and an OPS plus of 126. He won a Silver Slugger this year, which is the second in his career. Overall, these two players I just mentioned are just phenomenal. I thought Devers was just a bit better than Machado this season. Moving on to number 4, we have Alex Bregman from the Houston Astros. Alex Bregman definitely once was a solid top 5 third baseman in the league. He definitely was out of it for a couple seasons the last couple years. This year, he's back in it, baby. He just had another, really awesome year. He had a 4.9 WAR, hit 25 homers, a 262 batting average, 98 RBIs, an 804 OPS with an OPS plus of 122. And that was all playing in 161 games, which is the first season he's played in that many. And that's only one short of the full season. And that's kind of hard to do for a lot of players, to stay on the field, even if you're healthy, just not having days off. Very, very impressive season over there at the hot corner. He also rarely strikes out. He has a higher walk percentage than he does a strikeout percentage, which is pretty rare to see. He only has a 12 strikeout percentage and a 12.7 walk percentage. Other than his rookie season, which was 2016, he has not had over a 15.5 strikeout percentage. Moving on to the top 3, also getting it started for us, we have Gunnar Henderson from the Baltimore Orioles. And wow, is it crazy to see a new third baseman in the top 5 rankings. With Gunnar Henderson, who of course won the Rookie of the Year this year. In 150 games, he hit 28 homers, had 82 RBIs, and a 255 batting average, a 489 slug, an 814 OPS, and an OPS plus of 125. Those are definitely Rookie of the Year type numbers. But Henderson cracking the top 3 third base rankings this year is really impressive to see. Moving on to number 2, we have Jose Ramirez from the Cleveland Guardians. Ramirez, in my opinion, is such a sneaky, quiet player. A lot of people know he's good, but I just feel like he isn't talked about that much. He had a 5.1 WAR this year, hitting 24 homers, a 282 batting average, 80 RBIs, and he also stole 28 bases. He had a 475 slug, 831 OPS, and an OPS plus of 131. He was an all-star this year. He played in 156 games. And again, he also doesn't strike out. He only has a 10.6 strikeout percentage. And get this, he matches that with his walk percentage. And he's a great fielder. He's making plays over at third base all the time. He's very deserving at this number 2 spot. And that's exactly why he sits there. Moving to the number 1 third baseman, and of course, in my opinion, but I think a lot of people should agree, we have Austin Riley from the Atlanta Braves. Austin Riley is just as impressive as it gets. He had a 5.9 WAR and played in 159 games this season, hitting 37 homers. He had 97 RBIs and a 281 batting average, a 513 slug, an 861 OPS with an OPS plus of 128. He was an all-star. He won a Silver Slugger. Unlike the previous players I mentioned, his strikeouts are a bit high at 24%. But when you're hitting 37 homers and have a 281 batting average, you can kind of let that slide a little bit. And Austin Riley, no doubt, he's still a great defender over there at third. He has a great strong arm. He's always making good plays over there. And for all of that, he is my number 1 third baseman especially after the 2023 season. So there we have it, all of my third base ranking. I definitely feel like this list is the most stacked that we've had as of yet, and this is my 4th ranking video. Anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying the 12 days of MLB rankings as of yet. If you're watching and you did enjoy, a big like means the world. And if you really enjoyed, hit that subscribe button while you're at it. And yeah, so if you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Peace.